You know that feeling, that deep down human thing where you just really want to make things right. Maybe it's, I don't know, a tricky situation with family or a project at work that's stuck because no one's talking, or even just something inside yourself holding you back. It's this universal desire for real connection, for genuine progress. But honestly, there's so much advice out there. It's overwhelming. How do you actually find the stuff that works? Well, welcome to the deep dive. That's exactly what we try to do here. Cut through all that noise, pull out the really important bits of knowledge so you can get properly informed, without the headache. So today we're jumping into something pretty fascinating. It's a deep dive based on a document called Reconciliation and Progress in the Family. It's SWS 2025-0831.pdf. Now, this actually comes from a message given by Pastor Dr. W.F. 𝐤𝐸. It was at a Global Family and Marriage Conference back on August 31st, 2025. It really gets into dynamics that, well, they affect all of us, drawing a lot from ancient wisdom.
Yeah, and the source itself is pretty clear about its aims. It mentions guiding unbelievers towards Jesus Christ to escape eternal judgment, and also giving believers guidance for victory in life, in ministry. And it offers success principles for young people, too, in academics and careers, and pointers for ministers on being role models. But our mission here, like always, is just to impartially report on the ideas in the source material. We want to help you understand what it suggests about reconciliation and progress, whether that's in family, spiritual life, or society.
Right. So get ready. We're going to uncover some, I think, surprising facts and maybe some profound insights here. It draws heavily on that biblical story of Moses and Jethro. We'll explore why this source presents reconciliation as like the absolute starting point for any real progress, and what that could even mean for you in your own life. Okay, so let's kick off with this really powerful statement from Pastor 𝐤𝐸. In our families, spiritual, and society at large, we need reconciliation and progress. Everything begins with reconciliation. I mean, that's quite a claim, isn't it?
Yeah.
Super direct. It implies that if you don't do that first step, reconciliation, everything else is just wasted effort.
Pretty much. That's the core question the source dives into. And what's really interesting is how it immediately ties this to the Old Testament. Specifically, Exodus chapter 18, verses 1 to 7. It's the story where Jethro, who's Moses' father-in-law, hears about everything God did for Israel. And then he brings Moses' wife, Zipporah, and their two sons, Gershom and Eliezer, back to Moses out there in the wilderness. So this reunion, this bringing a divided family back together, it's shown as the absolute start of something bigger, a kind of essential opening for things needed, right, from the Old Testament through to the New Covenant. It's not just a nice family get-together. The source presents it as, well, essential, the prerequisite.
Okay, so reconciliation.
Right.
But it's not just about family, according to this source.
No, exactly.
It argues the whole process actually starts with spiritual reconciliation with God, like repenting from sin, coming to God for forgiveness, for righteousness.
That's the idea.
And only then, it says, can you make progress toward what it calls paradise in heaven, which sounds like, ultimate peace, being united with God forever. And this spiritual reconciliation is then the pattern for families and society, too.
Right. What really stands out is that sequence. The source is basically saying until you get that spiritual alignment sorted, real lasting progress elsewhere, it's just not going to happen, or it won't stick. It's a fundamental reordering. It suggests that inner peace, being right with God, that's the bedrock you have to build everything else on reconciliation in your home, in your community. It's a pretty big shift from just trying to fix outward problems first.
Yeah, it really is. And Jethro, in this story, he's not just the guy bringing the family back together, is he?
No, not at all.
The source points him out as a wise counselor, too. He gave Moses that practical advice about delegation, needing rest, sleep, for a longer life, better leadership.
Exactly. It highlights that even with this strong spiritual focus, the source doesn't ignore practical human wisdom. Jethro used his own experience, his background, to give really sound advice that helped Moses manage this huge burden. It's kind of a mix, isn't it? Spiritual reconciliation opens the door for human connection, and then practical wisdom makes that connection work better.
Makes you think how often we maybe overlook simple, wise advice in our own lives, even when we're focused on bigger spiritual goals.
Definitely.
Okay, so if spiritual reconciliation is step one, how does that play out in our day-to-day relationships? Marriage, for instance. The source seems pretty direct there.
Oh, very direct. It strongly emphasizes what it calls God's plan and project, that husband and wife shouldn't separate. It cites passages, Malachi 2, Matthew 19, basically reinforcing the idea of marriage as a covenant, God's original intention for unity. It actually says quite bluntly, apart as husband and wife, we are not in the will of God, but together we are in the will of God.
Right.
And that God hates putting away, meaning divorce or separation. Yeah. It frames the ideal as monogamy. One man, one woman becoming one flesh, signifying this really deep spiritual, emotional, physical bond.
Okay, so that's a very clear call for unity. But how do you maintain that, especially when things get tough?
Well, that's where this idea of transformational forgiveness comes in. The source is realistic. It knows when two people from different backgrounds get together, differences will come up. It uses that example of Moses and Zipporah again. Moses valued circumcision, part of the covenant tradition. Zipporah apparently thought it was a bloody thing, maybe barbaric from her perspective.
Right. Big difference.
Huge.
Mm-hmm.
And the source says differences like that can separate people. So it poses that question. How do we handle these really deep disagreements, especially about core beliefs? And the answer it gives is, well, radical forgiveness. It points to Jesus' teaching, forgive until 70 times 7.
70 times 7. I mean, that sounds almost impossible for us humans, doesn't it? How does the source suggest you actually do that? How do you get to that level of forgiveness, especially if you've been hurt badly or repeatedly?
It acknowledges the difficulty. It gives some down-to-earth examples, disagreements over housekeeping, raising kids, even comparing your spouse to your mom, things that happen. And the advice is to forgive each other so thoroughly that, and this is the key part, the things that used to bother you will not bother you anymore.
Whoa.
Yeah. And maybe even more challenging, it says, anything you cannot change in your spouse, you are to leave like that.
So acceptance, radical acceptance.
It sounds like it. It's about letting go of trying to force change on every little thing, accepting some differences are just.
Yeah.
There. It shifts the focus to changing your own reaction, not the other person.
That's a lot to chew on. Okay, so beyond forgiveness, how do relationships actually thrive according to this?
The source talks about transparent fellowship with reciprocity without falsehood, which basically means being open, honest, mutual, leaving behind foreign ideas and customs that might cause friction.
Foreign ideas, like things from your old life or family habits that clash.
Could be. The idea seems to be embracing mutual understanding instead. It ties back to the golden rule from Matthew 7:12, do to others what you would have them do to you. And it applies that correctly to spouses. It's about active love, consideration, mutual respect. Not just grand gestures, but consistent, honest interaction day in, day out.
So it's not just the big arguments, it's the small stuff too.
Absolutely. The source stresses honesty in little things. Tell your spouse where you're going, what happened at the office, interactions with other people. It mentions Jethro and Moses had this open communication, building trust.
Right.
And it extends this to kids too. Transparent fellowship with children, spend a few minutes with them each day, really know them, train them for progress. It's all about building this consistent, open foundation through small daily actions.
Okay, that makes sense. Building trust bit by bit. So moving beyond the marriage itself, what about the next generation? How does the source suggest we make sure reconciliation and progress carry on with our kids, their spiritual lives?
Well, it shifts focus back to Moses' sons, Gershom and Eliezer. And it makes a key point. Bringing them back physically was one step, but making sure they were in the faith, that was something else entirely. It specifically notes they returned circumcised. And it explains this is crucial because, according to the source's interpretation of the covenant with Abraham in Genesis, if they weren't circumcised, they wouldn't have been accepted into the Commonwealth of Israel, the community, the nation governed by God's laws.
So adherence to a core tradition was vital for their reentry.
That's how it's presented. But then what's really fascinating is how the source takes this physical act and broadens it into something spiritual.
Okay.
It says, before you can be counted as part of the people of God, there must be the circumcision of the heart. So it's moving beyond just the ritual.
Circumcision of the heart, like a metaphor, a change inside.
Exactly, like having a fundamental change of heart or a deep inner commitment. The source argues this inner transformation, this loving obedience to God from within, is what's truly essential for belonging, for spiritual identity. It points to passages like Deuteronomy 30 and Romans 2 to back this up, and it presents this powerful idea. We cannot save ourselves, but we can repent. When we do what we can do for ourselves, then God will do what he can do to save us.
So it's a partnership. Human action meets divine grace.
Seems like it. It's a call to, desire it, thirst for it, set yourself apart, pray for that interchange.
Got it. So the sons don't just come home, they need this inner transformation and have to fully integrate.
Right. The source emphasizes they were integrated fully into Israel's traditions and culture. They didn't keep living like Midianites. They were even placed into the tribe of Levi, the priestly tribe, which signifies, a really deep assimilation and a specific purpose.
And this connects to a Christian concept, too.
Yeah, the source links it to a spiritual circumcision made without hands by Christ from Colossians, describing it as this internal heart transformation that leads to being counted among the sons and daughters of God, having your name in the book of life.
The book of life, that signifies eternal life, right? A whole new spiritual identity.
Precisely. It paints this picture of complete spiritual adoption, a totally new identity given by God.
So there's this emphasis on retraining them, making them, what was the phrase? Malleable and transformable.
Yes, exactly. To become useful citizens of the kingdom. Pastor 𝐸 is quoted saying something like, "It's great when our sons and families come home, but we need to make them malleable, transformable, bring them to Christ and his kingdom, retrain and reshape them to be useful."
So it's ongoing development for a purpose.
Right. It's not just about coming back. It's about becoming fruitful, contributing positively.
But as we know, life isn't always smooth sailing, even after reconciliation. The source touches on challenges too, right? With Miriam and Aaron.
It does. It brings up that story from Numbers 12, where Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. Apparently, they reproached him because Zipporah came back dressed like a Midianite woman, maybe not fitting their expectations.
Ooh, family criticism. That sounds familiar. How did Moses handle it?
That's the key point the source highlights. Moses did not fight with them. Instead, the text says he was very meek. He didn't retaliate. God defended him, and Moses actually kept praying for Miriam, even after she was judged for her criticism.
Wow. Meekness in the face of that kind of personal attack, especially about family. That's a powerful model. How do we respond when people criticize our choices, our family, our traditions?
It's a huge question.
Yeah.
Moses' humility, his patience, even when the criticism was unjust. The source holds that up as the example. It shows reconciliation doesn't mean zero opposition. It means changing how you respond to it.
Right. Maintaining inner peace, your purpose, trusting maybe in a higher defense.
That seems to be the idea.
So this leads to the idea of personal growth, becoming that malleable person. And there's that intense metaphor the source uses.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
You cannot be molded until you are melted.
Yeah, that one really sticks. It's a quote from Pastor 𝐸, referencing Malachi 3, suggesting God uses difficulties to, melt us down and reshape us, refine us.
Like a blacksmith with metal.
Exactly. The sons of Moses, after being refined, they served in the house of the Lord, transformed, useful. It implies this sometimes painful process is actually necessary for real transformation, for becoming useful. You have to endure the heat to be reshaped.
It's a profound take on adversity, isn't it? Embracing it as a refining fire. Not to break you, but to make you pliable for something greater. Those sons went from being outsiders to serving right at the heart of Israel's spiritual life. It shows progress isn't always easy or comfortable. Often involves that melting and changing.
Okay, so Jethro gave good advice, but the source ultimately points beyond human wisdom, doesn't it?
It does. The final point is essentially that our counselor is greater, higher, and more intelligent than Jethro. It presents Jesus as this ultimate guide.
Providing grace upon grace, leading us through everything, a higher level of guidance than even the wisest human.
That's the perspective. And to really drive this home, the source uses Jethro's name as an acronym, but applying it to Jesus.
Ah, the JSRO acronym. Okay, let's unpack that. It seems like a neat way to summarize the source's view on spiritual support.
Yeah, it is. So JETHRO stands for, J is for justifying judge. So not just condemning, but making people righteous through reconciliation. E is emancipating Emmanuel, meaning freedom from spiritual bondage and God with us. T is transforming teacher in the truth, offering real internal change, ultimate reality, not just facts. H is helper and healer, providing comfort, restoration in all parts of life. R is reconciling redeemer. This is key, fixing that fundamental break between people and God, making that the ultimate reconciliation, the foundation for everything else. O is only overcomer, victorious over everything, offering that victory to followers.
Wow, that covers, pretty much everything. It's a framework suggesting this divine Jethro provides not just advice, but transformation, freedom, healing, reconciliation, everything needed to navigate life and actually progress.
Exactly. It shifts the ultimate reliance from human experience, even wise human experience like Jethro's, to divine intervention for help and growth.
Okay, we have really journeyed through a lot here today. A deep dive into these insights on reconciliation and progress from Pastor Kamui message. We started with that foundational idea, spiritual and family reconciliation first. Then we looked at transformational forgiveness, transparent communication, all the way to refining ourselves, nurturing the next generation. It's amazing how these ancient stories are presented as having such relevant guidance for us now.
And let's definitely hold on to that core reminder from Pastor Kamui. Everything of progress depends on reconciliation. It's an idea that really hits home, whether you're thinking about fixing a personal relationship, finding inner peace, or even, helping build a more unified community. It really hammers home that belief that harmony inside and with others is the absolute prerequisite for moving forward, for genuine well-being.
So, as you think about all this, maybe consider this. If real reconciliation in ourselves, our families, our communities sometimes requires us to be, as the source says, molded until we are melted, what's one area in your life, one relationship, maybe even just one perspective you hold really tightly? What one thing might you be willing to bring into that refining process to really encourage progress? What surprising nuggets of knowledge might come out of that journey for you?